right, last question for today. Okay, this is a great one. Oh man, I'm totally gonna go long. Oh wait, we're gonna finish this off. Bob Nunn with a late question. Bob Nunn, angles are necessary for complementary defense. We do not let shooter topside, so 100% committed defense to push down alley to three shots. So 3 shots, 5-hole off hip, squeak through pipe side. We try to eliminate shots. Awesome. And actually, Bob, that's a well-timed post because I will use that in this one. And because this question I got from a parent, a mom this week. Maybe I can find out who that was. This was a great question. And so basically the mom who joined our Facebook group was like, where is it? Facebook Live, questions, group requests. I just want to find a name because I want to give a name to the smart mom who wrote this. So her goalie, she's in the group, but she doesn't even have a goalie. She has a defender. The defender's like, I just want to know what I can do to help my goalie out. And I was like, I nearly cried. I almost cried. And where is it? It's right. Rebecca Wolasizn, Scissorpants. I don't know. WOLOSZYN for my Canadian fans. ZYN. Mike Porach writes, I've also found that when shooters assess a shot and see very little net, they tend to hesitate and or pass. Dylan Ward does this with his high arc. Takes a ton of practice, though. You know what, Mike? It takes a ton of Avery Gaw, yes, sending so much love to that defender, right? Rebecca Wolashizn. So Rebecca, lots of love to you. This one's for you. And Mike, I'll get to your comment there in a second, okay? Because I'll feed that into this. So defenders, what can your defense do to help your goalie? Okay, so a lot of the goalies that I work with in that I coach, what ends up happening is I almost feel like we're kind of creating this little like alliance, right? It's like, okay, listen, man, or girl, whatever. We're gonna basically we're gonna work together, and I'm gonna help you with some things that your coach probably doesn't have enough time to teach you. Okay, so a lot of my goalies come from some like really expensive club teams. That's the only way I can say it. Expensive club teams that have like 2 coaches on the sideline. The goalie's getting like no love, and the defense is very poorly coached. Right? I did a goalie audit just the other day for a goalie where I was like, this one defenseman was trying to do everything, and the coaches were trying to ride this defenseman, saying like wanting them to do everything. And it was just screwing up everything. And the goalie's getting shots from inside 5 yards. So what ends up happening here is that the first thing I want my goalie to understand is like, we're gonna teach you some communication skills. And you're gonna start communicating to a defense that doesn't know what the hell you're saying yet. Because the first thing I want to say here that a defender can do to help their goalie is understand the demands and the needs for communication from the goalie to the field. Okay. So for my Lacrosse Goalie University members, I have this massive module on lacrosse goalie communication. Okay. And so, but what coaches don't understand, and I feel like when I had Coach Scully in high school and even in college, like back then, there was a little bit more of an understanding of why goalies communicate and what the purpose for that was. And I believe that's been totally lost in the game. And I just see it over and over again, week after week. I see goalies, even at the collegiate level, I see defensemen doing stuff that, and defense women doing stuff like where they're turned around. They're just doing too much because their goalie, they're not understanding the use of the goalie in terms of communication, ball position, slides, all that stuff. So the number one thing for a defense to help their goalies is to understand why the hell the goalie is talking to you in the first place, right? And what ends up happening is like when I work with goalies, I'm like, we're creating a little bit of a demand because I'm able to teach a goalie like what they need to do to communicate. And then what normally ends up happening is their coach goes like, where'd you learn to do that? And they're like, I go on these Facebook Lives every week and, I talk to Coach Edwards and yada, yada. And then the coach usually emails me and goes, thanks. We have no time to do this. I'm like, okay. So, but now if we add the defense to this understanding, and Avery, yes, sending so much love to that defender, me too, right? This is a great deal. Now, if the defense can go like, wow, we would all be so much better if we understood why they're calling ball position, and then what then I can focus on because the goalie's told me where the ball is. So for the boys in particular, I see a lot of this. Goalie yells ball side right, and my backside defender, like the guy on the left side of the field, is still covering his man on the left side of the field, and he hasn't sloughed in the middle because he's like, I got to watch my man. No, you got to move to the middle because we're going to need you soon. Why? Because the goalie told us the ball's on the side right, and he's now talking about slides and things like that. So whatever. I'm not going to go on all the details, but just overall, if the defense understands that, oh yeah, when the goalie tells me like ball's top center and I am top left, and oh yeah, and the last huddle coach said we're sliding from adjacents, I need to pay. Oh my God, I need to pay attention. That sort of stuff. Okay, that'd be really helpful. Okay, this goes beyond the coach. All right, so I want you to understand that when you're working with coaches, it's not up. So a lot of parents will call me; they get so frustrated with the coach that they're not teaching this stuff, and I get it. But also, lacrosse is probably the most complicated sport next to football to coach, in my opinion, especially defensively. Like, there's just so much going on. The field's so big. The ball can move so fast, change angles. It's tougher than hockey, tougher than field hockey, tougher than handball, tougher than water polo. Like, the lacrosse goalie position is the most complex. Okay, most complex for a lot of reasons. Okay, so once on the field, and this goes to Bob, or I can't remember who wrote this. Yeah, Bob Num. Angles are necessary for complementary defense. We do not let shooters top side. Okay, so yes. Understanding that not every player on the field is with the ball is of the same value, the same threat to the goal. Okay. So I see a lot of teams where fast breaks coming down the field and a defender slides out to that player with the ball and meets them at like 25 yards, right? Maybe that's a little bit of an exaggeration, maybe like 20 yards. But that player isn't a threat yet. That player is a threat at like 15 yards. And what I see happen over and over again is we end up, instead of having a 4-on-3 from outside 15 yards, we have a 2-on-1 from inside 5, right? What would you rather have, right? I would rather have the 4-on-3 from within 15 yards. Why? Because it's tight, the slides are shorter, the chance for missed passes goes way up massively. And the defense, if they understood that, they would play very differently, okay? They would play very differently. Because people always talk like, oh, yeah, the D and the goalie should get together after the goals and talk about it. And I'm like, what the hell are they going to say? Like, do you really think a high school age, like teenage boy or girl is going to go like, yeah, my bad, guys? Only the most confident of kids, right? So the idea here is that if we can kind of get them to understand, like, all right, I don't have to cover that player way out there. I can save myself some energy, unless you're freaking Zorro and you can like stick check the pants off somebody. But for most part, that's not the deal. Okay, so that's a big one, is understanding where players are threats and where they're not a threat. Okay, because yeah, if I'm covering a shooter, and let's say that shooter's at 18 yards, like, so I was on the phone last night with one of my college age goalies, and he's at a tournament, and he gets, the offense gets kind of impatient, tired. Some dude rips the ball on him from literally like top right, about 18 yards. And he just gobbled it up. And that entire team should be celebrating. The D should be like, yeah, we gave, you took it from 18 and our goalie just saved it. We knew that was going to happen and you suck. Bye. Right? That's what needs to happen, right? And everybody should be praising that, but nobody does. Okay? So you got to think about that. Things like what Bob has said here, like, not giving topside. And what that means is, like, when a player, and this is true for the boys, the girls, when a player comes down to the side, what I see happen way too often is if a defender is physically capable to get topside and stop that player. And so literally what ends up happening is it almost looks like the defender is facing the sideline, and you could draw a line between the defender through the ball carrier perpendicular to the sideline. That's what that defense should look like. But then what ends up happening is that if that ball carrier goes down the sideline a little bit, the defender, what do? They overcommit and they go too deep. And then that guy goes topside or that girl goes topside. And now we're back where we started with the thing we didn't want to have happen in the first place. It drives me crazy. Okay. So defense, if they're taught better one-on-one defense, but then physically they're able to do it. I see in the girls' game, I see a lot of really good, hardworking, conscientious girls defenders who want to play really, really well, but they lack the physical ability to stay in front of an offensive player, because offensive players work more in the angles that they need to work in than defenders work in the angles they need to work in. Okay. So yes, got to ride on the backside hip, which is poorly taught, and it's poorly taught, and it's not taught slowly enough so kids really understand what it means. Okay, what it really means. So not giving them up topside. Second, pushing them down the alley and pushing them behind goal line. That's the other like technical thing. It's like we're just changing angles. And so for my defense, I want to and this is why I encourage all of my goalies to be looking at like video after a game, because it's going to help you the most. But then the data you come up with, right? The data you come up with as a goalie, you can pass that on to your coaches. Like, coach, we gave up all these shots from like top right, we got top right. Now maybe that, I had Seth Arano was one of my defenders, and Steve Cohen, and so we would give up shots certain places when they were on the field. And those weren't good for me, right, as the goalie. So when we understand that as a team, like, okay, listen, the goalie we have in the net today, Jenny, she's awesome. Like, and we love her, and she's really good, but she sucks when balls are coming from like the left side, right? Or Kevin's in the net today, guys, and he gobbles up anything outside, 15 yards. So let's just give up all the shots. Let's pack it in. We're going to pack it in tighter on the cage. We're going to give up all the shots. But anything inside, man, we're going to hack those guys down like a freaking tree in the forest in Canada, right? So when you understand that as a team, then the team gets all excited and goes like, all right, yeah, we gave up that shot today. Or, okay, now I look over and I'm like, okay, wait, Karen's covering number 6. Number 6 is really fast. Karen is not all that great laterally. She doesn't normally play on that side of the field. So now, but number 6 is badass. She's not going to pass to anybody, and I'm going to slide over and just be ready to help. Right? That sort of conversation, right? Like whatever. So the idea is that when defensively, if you start to understand, like, okay, yeah, our goalie, we want to give up shots from here, not from there. Okay, so I'm going to play differently. I'm not going to play the same over there as I do over here, right? And having that understanding is so important. Okay, is so important, and a lot of teams just don't do that. Another thing is on a clear, always be looking at your goalie, right? Like, so first, sorry, I got to back up here. On a clear, get to your spots. So coaches, you got to teach your team, like, where do you want everybody on the clear? It's like a theater act. You don't pull up the curtain doesn't go up until everybody's in their places. Goalie makes a save. Girls got 10 seconds. Boys got 4, right? In 3 seconds for the boys, guys can run about 20 yards on the low end. Right? They can at least get 20 yards upfield or out of the field, right? The idea there is that when you get to those positions, now you stretch out the team, the team that was on offense, now on defense, you stretch everybody out, and now we're going to go in our systematic, formulaic clearing, right? And nobody on your team understands the clear better than your goalie. Okay? They understand when you do this formulaically. Is that a word? Formulaically? I like it. Kind of comes off my tongue. Formulaically, lately. Anyway, when you can do that on a consistent basis, the person who understands the most is your goalie. They understand that, okay, when we get the clear and Jenny goes over there and Karen goes over there, that we can do this play and that's going to work, right? But when a goalie like just dumps it off to somebody else and everybody's in a mess and not everybody's looking at the ball, well, it's a recipe for disaster, right? It's a recipe for disaster. And I did a goalie audit on Tuesday for a goalie in Maryland, where you would think this stuff would get taught right, and his defense was so poorly coached that on a clear, every clear was different. And so, like, if you look at football, you wouldn't ask a quarterback to freestyle every play, right? No, they run plays. Right. And so we've talked about this a couple months ago about clears and things, especially in the girls' game. But we want it to be systematic because we want the options to be kind of, again, formulaic. I draw this person, I dump to her. She goes upfield, she jumps up, and then that happens, right? You just want that. And so many teams, so many defenses are kind of like, goalie gets the ball and they think they're done. No, you got to get to your spots first. And then kind of like 4A on this one is you got to be looking at your goalie, because you may be the open pass for your goalie, but you don't know that, right? So I tell all my goalies, like, if the only person you can pass to, so one of my collegiate goalies this past week was at a tournament, was at the Glastonbury tournament, and he's coming up the field on a clear, and one of his midfielders decides to like sub off, and the dude covering him just jumped the goalie. Goalie had no pass. Right. So, and I said, no, here's the deal. The goal, if I'm not like, if I'm coaching that goal in the field, I'm like, you have permission to hit that kid square in the butt. Right. Or if you miss him and it goes out of bounds, that's even better, because it's a safe play. No big deal. But now everybody's looking at that midfielder going like, why weren't you looking at the goalie? You were the open pass. Right. So you got to be looking at your goalie on the clears. Okay. One of the things that comes to mind too is a couple technical things for the defender. Never turn your head. Like, lead with a poke check. Don't try to cut down the pass or the shot. Just lead with a poke check. And so the idea is that if you do those things, these are more for the defender, but you're actually going to help the goalie, because for the boys, if you got a 6-foot pole and you can get on the hands of the shooter as they're coming through with a shot, and that shot sails wide, that's a commendable play. The entire team should be celebrating that long pole. Okay. I hate seeing, like poles slide and they're trying to like get their stick in front of the shot to try to like block it. No, we were better off getting you use that 6-foot pole, get it somewhere on the elbow, disrupt the shooter, and make that ball sail wide. Okay. And also, safety-wise, don't turn your head, don't turn your back, anything like that. I've said this before, but like that PLL clip of that defender like jumping in front of the cage, turning his back, and getting shot in the spine. This sounds horrible, but like the best thing that could have happened for lacrosse at that point was that guy got really hurt, and then we would have a rule saying don't ever do that again. Okay. Yes, lift check preferred, no slash. I say like be a surgeon, not a lumberjack. Okay. If you can lift and get there, great. But if you can get on the cuff of the glove, poke through, awesome. All right. Awesome. So those are just like, and again, Avery, I'm totally with you, sending so much love to that defender. I think what's really poorly coached in lacrosse is this idea that as a unit, we can do so much more together. And I remember in high school with Coach Scully and the defense that I had, they weren't like great long poles. They weren't great long sticks. A couple of them were football guys, but we got really good as a team, like, sliding not from the point, but from the low guy, because we had that communication down. They trusted my communication as a goalie. And the coaches were willing to just let me kind of experiment and learn. And I don't think any coaches do that. When was the last time your coach, said to the goalie, like, hey, your slide call was late, right? Usually they're saying like there was no slide, and the defense doesn't know what the hell that meant, right? Because they weren't really, I see so many defense now, like they're in the middle of the field and they're looking to slide, or they slide and then we didn't need them to slide, right? And so, but they're like, oh, I'm going to do that. Like, yeah, I got to go now. But this guy wasn't even beat. And also, he looked like he was beat, but he was beat in a position where the shooter's not a threat. So like, another goalie that I had down in the Glastonbury tournament, this attackman is side left, roll dodges, like, so does a kind of a question mark dodge, goes down towards the goal line, comes back up, and he's running up towards the restraining line. So he's at about 15 yards running away from the goal. Is that a threat to a goalie? No, because his energy is going completely opposite direction. If he tried to shoot it, no big deal. Well, some midi slid across the top of across the top of the box. Simple little dump from the attackman to the midi. Midi takes a shot from like 8 yards and scores. None of that had to happen if they understood kind of what's going on in the goalie's perspective. And this is a really solid collegiate team. Okay. Mike Perach writes, a standard clear is about as simple as it gets. Spread out, make use of the numbers. Totally. Just very formulaic, very systematic. Okay. So great questions today. Avery Gall, I loved your comments. Bob Nunn, Paul Smith, Mike Porach, Andy Levinson curling, Stephanie Phipps, thank you. And to everybody else, Barry Katz, Frank Segreto, everybody who commented today. Great stuff, guys. If one last thing, if you're listening to me now and you liked what we've covered, hit the like button and do me a favor, leave a comment too, even if you're hearing this after the fact. Let me know. And if you got a topic you want us to cover, just drop it. Drop me a note. Drop me an email. Coach Edwards, lacrossegoalietips.com. And when you're ready, I want to coach your goalie. All right. So I guarantee it'll be the best investment you make. This is the time of year. Thank you for all those likes. Love it. But I'll tell you this: like now's if you are playing lacrosse, you're thinking about it. Now's the best time to kind of make an assessment of your game. All right, and so if I can help you, I'd be happy to do that. All right, guys. All right, guys. Thanks for watching and thanks for listening wherever you are. Do me a favor, hit the like button if you like this, and be sure to subscribe if you haven't already. When you're ready, head on over to lacrossegoalieuniversity.com/coaching so I can work with you and your goalie. And while you're at it, check out athletespecific.com to learn more about mental performance and high performance. You may not know this, but I work with athletes in a variety of sports. Lacrosse is my love, but man, I love athletes and the families who support them. So head on over to athletespecific.com, check it out. I'll see you in the next video. Cheers.